All right, cool. So let's see. I believe I should be live right now. So, all right, cool. We already got some people in here. All right, so I'm actually live on YouTube and like my Twitter account right now. So I just wanted to go over the Jaguars did cut their roster down to 53 players. So that's awesome. Huge shout out to everybody in here. We got a bunch of people hopping in. Christopher Columbus, Jax, Haynes, Jonta Washington, C. Breacher, Josh Burton from the UK, Elijah Hicks, I'm randomly serious. We got Jaguars 916, what is good? So yeah, the Jaguars cut their roster down to 53 players. Really not many surprise cuts here. I was going to make a video for it, but it's going to be kind of a longer video, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to go on here for a live stream on a Saturday where I'm sure a lot of you guys are watching college football. Usually the first week there's not too many good games, but I'll be interested in seeing Florida play tonight, FSU play Monday night, and all that good stuff. So before all that, man, let's go ahead and go over this roster. Now, there weren't really too many surprise cuts to me. Like most of the players, the bubble players aren't going to be making big kind of impacts on this team, but we'll go ahead and look. Jaguars kept 2 QBs on the roster, which is to be any cuts? Sure. Oh yeah. But it's not any surprise that there were only 2 quarterbacks like on the roster. Tanner Lee, I mean, he didn't play too well the first game, and then didn't even play at all like games 2 and 3. But he did a lot better in like game 3. But he'll definitely most likely be a practice squad guy. I don't see many teams like knocking down the door to want to bring in a guy like Tanner Lee. So. They draft him. He's a big body. He's got a strong arm and all that stuff. So, we'll see if he can develop into like a backup quarterback down the road. Now, Blake Bortles, you would have liked to see him have a better preseason than he did. He only he had some good things. I mean, he had like a 67% completion percentage. I did a film room video about him. I released that about 3 hours ago. That kind of shows you a full in-depth look at me explaining how I think he did during the during the preseason and whatnot. But he was efficient. Like, he definitely has control over the offense, and I like him looking around, like basically letting what the defense gives him when it comes to not trying to force balls too far downfield, getting it to the open guy. I'd like to see him really have a little bit better decision making. He threw obviously like 3 interceptions. That's got to get cleaned up. But the thing is, man, you can't read too much into the preseason. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks out there don't do all that well. You don't study the defense at all. You're not game planning, so that's big advantage defense. It's because when you're an offense going against these guys, you want to be able to detect who's the best guy, like what different formations they kind of like to run. But I'll be a lot harder on him once like the preseason week 1 kind of comes about. But go ahead and like as I go through these position groups, let me know what you guys think of the quarterback, and like as I transition, and I'll definitely be sure to shout some of you guys out. But Blake Bortles, will really assess him once week 1 of the regular season really does come out, just because I don't like to read too much into preseason. Cody Kessler also played very well. He really looks like a formidable backup. So, I definitely think he's an upgrade over Chad Henne. That doesn't really take too much, but, I liked he's a good game manager type of quarterback. He took care of the ball. It looks like he obviously spent a couple seasons on the Browns, went 0-8, but they're kind of a dysfunctional franchise as they were, as of late. And, watching Hard Knocks hasn't really improved my opinion about that. But yeah, I mean, our quarterback position, so we decide to keep Blake Bortles, keep Cody Kessler, and decide to cut Tanner Lee, keeping 2 quarterbacks like the Jaguars kind of seem to do. And yeah, Dave and Brian, I agree with you. His footwork, like when you looked at the bad passes that Blake Bortles made, a lot of that was attributed to kind of his footwork. Like when he sets his feet, he throws the ball so much better, which, like one of his deep ball throws, it's like he literally had his right foot forward throwing with his, obviously right arm. Not the kind of things you want to make. Got to clean up on that. And, that's one thing that he likes to do out in California. So now we'll move on to the running back position. Now, the big question about the running back position was, are they going to keep 4 running backs, or are they going to keep 3 running backs? And they decide to keep 3 running backs, which was to be expected. Obviously, they got Leonard Fournette, TJ Yeldon, Corey Grant. I'll go to them in a minute. players that they cut. They cut Brandon Wilds and Tim Cook. Now, both these guys really in a competition almost with each other. There really were no guys outside of those that could have made the roster. But Brandon Wilds, I mean, he showed some good things, especially like in this game as of late. But with the Jaguars, if they like both Brandon Cooks and or Brandon Wilds and Tim Cook, they can easily. I said Brandon Cooks earlier. If they like Brandon Wilds and Tim Cook, they could easily keep one of those guys on a practice squad, and if they want to risk maybe one of these guys getting picked up, they can. But running back, you only keep usually 3 active on game day. Last year we had 4 on a roster, but one of them was at all times active, whether it was Yeldon at the beginning of the year or Chris Ivory later on in the year. And if one of those guys get injured, running back is the easiest position to find somebody out there in free agency on the market, just because it's the most running back. It's a lot of instinct. It's mostly instinct. You go in there and you can't really teach a guy, okay, if you see this, go that way kind of thing. It's all split second decisions, and it's all about kind of instinct. So but man, I love our 3 running backs, man. We got 3 guys that have all really good skill sets, and they're all really different skill sets. Obviously, Leonard Fournette, our bell cow running back, I mean, he's going to, if he stays healthy, man, he could get 1,300 to 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns. I mean, he's a guy that lost a good amount of weight this offseason just because he wanted to be quicker. I want to be a little more nimble, even though he was fast as hell last year, man. I mean, he had 2 of the fastest runs in the NFL last season, which is tremendous for a guy like that, and for a guy with that kind of weight. But he's shown a lot of good ability to really cut this preseason. He wants to be a great, just a great player. I mean, I liked seeing him at the end of the AFC Championship game, how upset he was. It shows that he really, really does care about football, and I'm excited to see Leonard Fournette in year 2, man. I've got super high expectations for that guy. Our 3rd down running back, TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon looks tremendous. He looks the best I've ever seen him in a Jaguars uniform. He's in great physical condition. He looks a lot quicker. And one thing about TJ Yeldon in past years is he hasn't really been all that fast. He had no breakaway speed, but this year, man, he looks a lot quicker, and I'm so excited to see TJ Yeldon. He's a great 3rd down back. He doesn't fumble the ball. He's the best blitz pick-upper on the team, and can help out a lot in the pass game. Love Yeldon. He almost has a body type in between a running back and a wide receiver, so he has he's very, very versatile on that. He has extremely good vision that he's shown, kind of waiting for stuff to open up and burst through the pocket. That's one thing that Leonard Fournette has to work on a little bit. Is Leonard Fournette's used to downhill running, and he's not usually as patient. But if you see TJ Yeldon, he can take the ball and kind of wait for stuff to develop and then really burst through there. And I'm going to come out with a running back film review either tomorrow or the next day, not too sure. Definitely in the next 3-4 days I'm going to come out with one, just because I'm very, very excited to see kind of what our running back skill set is going to look like. And man, we got the X factor in there, Corey Grant. He's, I think, going to have a huge role on this offense. I mean, one indicator of that is when you look over at the kick return team. Usually it's Corey Grant in there the last 3 years doing kick returns. It's now Jadon Mickens back there. And, I think that's just because Corey Grant's going to have a huge role in this offense. Obviously, we only have 3 running backs. Corey Grant, man, he's going to really be used as that scat back, man. He's going to be able to go in there. And, one lineup that I really like to see is that 2 running back set. And I think a big reason why and how this was created was because the Jaguars, you look at Corey Grant and you wonder, how are we going to get him the ball? When you line up in there with him in the backfield, he's either going to, run the ball or go out for a route, just because he's not really good at picking up the blitzes. And you really have to find a formation for him in that 2 running back set. I mean, you see Leonard Fournette go out in motion, and then all the linebackers are looking after Fournette, and they're expecting to get punched in the mouth by Fournette, but you got Corey Grant slipping out over here, and he's like trying to find a little rabbit throughout the forest, man. He can get there, and it's so hard to track him down. He's so speedy, so awesome in space. It's awesome, man. Like, I'm really I'm excited to see what Corey Grant has to do, man, because man, we went away from him in the second half of the Patriots game, and it might have just been because they didn't really have much in the game plan for him. But Corey Grant, we have a very, very dynamic backfield. Hopefully all these guys can stay healthy. This will probably be Yeldon's last year on the team, just because he's going into this is his contract year, so he's a free agent after next year. And with the Jaguars having to really be diligent in where they put their money, I'm not sure what kind of contract Yeldon is going to demand, just because he's not, he's kind of proven that he wasn't a very good, bell cow kind of running back. He can't really get 15 to 25 carries a game. He's better as a third down role, and what kind of money that will demand, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that'll be able to outprice us. But all it takes is one team to really like Yeldon and sign up for a good amount of money. So we'll kind of see what goes on with that. I'm seeing what's going on in the chat, seeing if anybody has anything to say about the running backs. But yeah, the running back situation, we obviously cut Brandon Wilds and Tim Cook. Tim Cook's a guy who spent last year on the practice squad. I would expect to keep at least one of these guys on a practice squad. Whoever you like more, keep them on there, and we'll see kind of where the other one goes to. We kept one fullback, obviously Tommy Bohannon, and it wasn't really a matter of, are they going to keep this fullback or the other fullback? Just because, Tommy Bohannon was the only fullback on the roster. So the only question really was, are they going to keep one fullback, or are they going to just let a tight end come in there and play that position? But they decide to keep fullback, which isn't too much of a surprise to me. I like Bohannon for a couple reasons. First of all, he's better at the fullback position than any tight end, so you always got that. But also, Leonard Fournette likes running behind a fullback. We like to be like a downhill run kind of team. So get some extra get an extra big blocker in there to take on the first linebacker you kind of see. And also, I think this gives us better options when it comes to potentially play action kind of plays, because we saw in preseason week 3, Tommy Bohannon was able to slip in there off of play action and get right open in the flats for a first down. If it's a tight end, they might key in on that guy a little bit more. So that's one thing. And also, you look at the playoffs, would that Tommy Bohannon touchdown against the Steelers, one of the top, most important touchdowns that we had in the entire season, in postseason, would he have been able to sneak out there if it was, say, a Niles Paul, a guy who's been known to be like a receiver option? I'm not sure, So, I like Bohannon. He'll definitely help out a lot in the run game. And, the Jaguars, keep that one fullback. So, now we'll move on to the wide receiver position. Now, the wide receiver position obviously took a huge hit this, last game against, week 3 against the Atlanta Falcons, as Marquise Lee got put on the IR. So, that basically opened up the roster for an extra guy. Now we'll go ahead and go through who made it. The obvious 4 was going to be Dante Moncrief, Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook, and DJ Chark. None of those guys are really surprises. Jadon Mickens made the team. I didn't think that was too much of a surprise either, just because he was basically playing every single position, he was basically playing all over special teams. He was returning kicks. He was first out there to really return punts. Jadon Mickens, the coaches like him. He's been in the NFL for 3 years. This is the first time he's actually made a roster, the initial roster. So that's good out of Jadon Mickens. I like him. One game he had 2 touchdowns against the Houston Texans when it was only rookie wide receivers running out there. So I like me some of Jadon Mickens. And also Rashad Green made the team, which basically, it was almost a 3-way competition of my eyes between Green, Shane Wynn, and Lazard. Now, Shane Wynn got cut. Shane Wynn is he's a good player. He's a great player, but the only thing about Shane Wynn, and he's you really cheer for him to make the roster, but you can't change his height. Shane Wynn is 5'6". That is so short for wide receiver, or any football player for that matter. Maybe if you're Maurice Jones-Drew, you can come in there and be really short, but no matter what position you play, it's going to be tough. And if you're going to be that, he doesn't really contribute much on special teams either, and it's just unfortunate for the guy, man. I really wish he was like taller, just because, I think he would be, a great player, but can't change his height. I mean, he's going to find a hard time making a roster anywhere in the NFL. But yeah, we also cut Alan Lazard. I know a lot of fans really like Lazard just because of he had really good, body size. I think he was like 6'5". He had a really good career at Iowa State, but I wasn't surprised that he didn't make the team just because he hadn't shown anything. He didn't really show me much. I remember he kind of had stiff hands, and he could be a practice squad candidate just based off of his size, but maybe he can make a roster somewhere just because of his size. But we'll see what we want to do with Lazard. I would hopefully put him on a practice squad to kind of develop him, just because he has he could be a project down the road. But we'll go ahead and go into Rashad Green. Now, I was a little surprised by this Rashad. I won't say surprised just because, but I think Rashad Green could potentially be replaced by somebody in undrafted free or not undrafted free agency, but that's cut off of another team. Just because if you're the sixth wide receiver on the team, you've got to be able to contribute to special teams, and he really doesn't give much to special teams, in my honest opinion. Now, the coaching staff loves him. Obviously, they see a lot more than him than we do, as he was drafted in 2015. He hasn't played in many games at all due to injury. He also only has a little over 200 receiving yards in his whole entire NFL career. Now, he spent all of last year on the IR, so he only played technically for really 2 years. But I haven't seen much from him in a Jaguars uniform. Now, I know a lot of guys. I know a lot of FSU fans really like him because he was the exact opposite. I believe he's the leading receiving, leading wide receiver and receiving yards at FSU. Let me know in the comment section if you know that for sure. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think he might be replaced, to be honest with you. So, but the coaching staff does like him. He does look good out there as a wide receiver. We just haven't seen enough, but. Yeah, we'll go ahead and so Rashad Green makes it. Now, with Marquise Lee getting injured, man, it leaves a lot of inexperience at the wide receiver spot. Moncrief is going into his 5th NFL season, which is nice and everything, but he is by far the biggest veteran on the team. You go into the next 3 guys: Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook, DJ Chark. Those 3 guys combined for 2 years of NFL experience, and that's not even counting the fact that D.D. Westbrook spent the first half of his rookie year on the IR. So that sucks, just the amount of inexperience, but there is a good amount of upside at this position. I'm not going to lie to you, I am a little bit worried about this spot just because last season there were a lot of turnovers committed because guys were running the wrong routes and stuff like that, and this position unit, it's a lot based on potential rather than real production yet, because even Dante Moncrief, he's been in the NFL for 4 years. He's been in and out due to injury and different quarterback stuff, but he's more based on potential too. He's on this 1 year deal. He didn't earn a multi-year deal from anybody. Keelan Cole, he only had 1 catch, I think, in a preseason, so we'll kind of see what that gets into. D.D. Westbrook is in there. I think D.D. Westbrook's probably my favorite receiver out there. I think he's the most versatile. I mean, you look at how well he did in college. He was a freaking he finished 4th place in the Heisman voting. He was a Blitnikoff Award winner. Now, we'll see. Obviously that doesn't necessarily translate into the NFL all that much, but he's done major things in college football, and I've seen him this preseason, man. We can get it to him on a bubble screen. He can do good stuff. He can take a catch down the, he can catch a fade, down the sidelines, whether it be over the shoulder or just arms extended and everything. He's very good at catching the ball, and yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited to see kind of what D.D. Westbrook has to bring. I'm not sure if he'll necessarily lead the team in receiving yards. That might be a Moncrief or a Keelan Cole, but I do think that he'll probably lead the team in receptions, at least amongst the wide receivers. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. DJ Chark, it's hard to really expect much from a guy like this in his first season on the team. Just because, rookies, I think it's a tough position to really transition to as a rookie. I think some of the hardest positions that I always say are quarterback, obviously, also like a defensive end, some kind of like defensive lineman, most specifically defensive end, maybe like a middle linebacker and a wide receiver, wide receivers, all of a sudden they have to go up against, the quarterback. The change in play of a quarterback from college to the NFL is just tremendous. So, he might be a guy that kind of comes on later in the season, but we'll probably have to have him step up this season just because, with the injury of Marquise Lee. And, Marquise Lee, one reason that he was re-signed is because of his blocking ability. And, DJ Chark, the Jaguars coaching staff, raved about his blocking ability. So I'll be interested to kind of see what DJ Chark kind of does. So we'll kind of move on to the next spot. Quick shout out to everybody in the live chat real quick. I'm more doing this kind of as a radio show almost, but what's up, A-Train 904, Charlie, we got Stewie's, Clint Taylor, Devontae Smith, T.S. Madison, Clint Taylor, obviously I just said, but yeah, we got 55 people watching. Hey, thanks everybody for watching, by the way. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is awesome. Super pumped about the NFL season starting. Super pumped. We're down to 53 players, so that's when the season is basically here. We'll probably be seeing guys. This roster isn't official. We could be seeing some guys get picked up and undraft or and like do the free agency wire that's been cut from other teams. But we'll see later. JJ channel or JJ, he's heading out of here. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and go into this next position group, the tight end position. Now, we only kept 3 tight ends, which surprised me. I thought we were going to keep 4 tight ends. We decided to keep Austin Seferian-Jenkins, which was obvious. We kept Niles Paul and James O'Shaughnessy. Now, I was thinking we were going to keep 4. For main reason is just because we're a team that likes to basically run 2 tight end sets a lot of times. We're a running team. We want to be able to really pound the ball in there. But here, let me exit out of my Twitter feed real quick because there's no one watching on there. But yeah, I thought we were going to keep 4 tight ends just because we like to run 2 tight end sets. We like to run the ball a lot. But, when I looked at who was cut, Koyak, I really like Koyak because he's a really good, run blocking. He's the best run blocking tight end on the team, in my opinion. Now, Austin Seferian-Jenkins have shown really good things in that category, but I learned that Koyak, if he does pass through waiver wires, he will be put on the injured reserve list. So he probably didn't make the team due to injury. Y'all said Goolsby get weighed the same way. If both of them clear waivers, they're going to be on the IR. So, I don't know if we're going to be really designating them to return. But we'll see. So we do decide to keep 3 tight ends. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, super excited to see about this guy. I knew he was going to be a pretty good pass threat weapon, but he's also been really good at run blocking. He's really surprised me in that category. So, I'm pumped to see what he does in the run blocking territory for the Jaguars. And also the passing game. I think he has a chance to get a lot of receptions. He's a good red zone target. I'm excited to see Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Niles Paul made a team. He was brought in due to special teams, but we've seen him. He's kind of going to be a backup fullback. Also filling for tight end. He's had a bigger role this preseason than I thought he would, and that might be just because Austin Seferian-Jenkins doesn't play. He didn't play week 2 against the Vikings. That's when we saw the most of Niles Paul. And we'll see what Niles Paul has to do. He's kind of solid. He dropped a couple in week 2, but he's mainly brought in for special teams. He was a former special teams captain over at the Washington Redskins. So next up, we also have James O'Shaughnessy. Now, James O'Shaughnessy is good on special teams. He's also good in the passing game. He was the guy that we brought over last year through waiver wires, kind of at this time after he was cut from the New England Patriots. So, we brought him over here. He was mainly a threat in the passing game. He was the best kind of pass threat option we had last season for the Jaguars, and he's good on special teams. However, he needs to work on his run blocking a little bit. He's not as good in that category. He doesn't really have much of the body for it. He's kind of a taller, slender guy, almost looks like a bigger wide receiver. So, he has more of a body type for like a pass catching tight end kind of thing. But he is a willing blocker. He's just really not all that good at it. So now we will go ahead and transition to the offensive line. Now, the offensive line, we decided to keep 10 players. The starters at left tackle, Cam Robinson; left guard, Norwell; center, Brandon Linder; right guard, AJ Cann; right tackle, Jeremy Parnell. No surprises there. This offensive line could be very good. I'll get into those guys in a minute. Some of the guys that we kept as backups, Tyler Shatley, the Jaguars really like him. He plays kind of that center/guard role. He's always first off the bench when it comes to replacing somebody on the interior of the offensive line. So yeah, he's a good player. Will Richardson, the 4th round pick out of NC State, he was an obvious keep. He only really played in like the 3rd and 4th preseason games, I believe, but he's hopefully going to be the right tackle of the future, replacing Jeremy Parnell. We also have Josh Wells. He's kind of a swing tackle. He kind of gets exposed every now and then when he comes in there, but we'll see how he progresses. Chris Reed. Chris Reed hasn't played too well in the previous seasons, but he did play really well in the preseason, I thought. So next up, we also have Josh Walker. Now, Josh Walker has been in the league since 2014. He spent some time with the Green Bay Packers. He's a guy that Tony Baselli actually really likes, so I haven't watched too much of him. Some guys that we cut were William Pales. This one was a little emotional for me because after the training camp practices, I took a picture with him, and he actually told me that he's watched my videos before. So that's pretty cool for a Jaguar player to actually say that. And also we cut Brandon Smith. Brandon Smith had a horrible first game, letting Tanner Lee get sacked all the time, so that was really no surprise. He was a big dude, kind of better in the run game. But yeah, Norwell and Parnell missed most of the preseason. They only played in week 3, but they were significant upgrades over the previous guys they had, although both of them did allow a sack. Cam Robinson played a lot better in week 3. Some of that might be because of, Norwell coming back and they're playing. So, Cam Robinson, we need him to be good. We need Cam Robinson to be good because, first of all, he's on a cheap deal for the next 3 seasons, so you'd rather not have to draft a guy high in the next coming drafts or, pay an expensive player. He's also at a cornerstone kind of position, left tackle, protecting the quarterback's blind side. We run to the left a lot of the time, so pair him up with Andrew Norwell, man, you could have 2 really good players on the left side, including that center when it comes to Brandon Linder. So, all those guys, we know Brandon Linder and Norwell is good, but we need Cam Robinson to, play better. So next up, we, also, Norwell, he's an all-pro. He's really good. Brandon Linder, he's also a very good player, even though he is injury prone. He's got to be, hopefully he can stay healthy, all season last year. I mean, even last season he was like out for a while because he was freaking, because he was like sick. I think he missed like 2 or 3 games because of like the flu or something. So that's kind of weird. So we also have AJ Cann, man. AJ Cann's been, had his best preseason of his entire, career on the Jaguars. Now he's another one of those guys that's in a contract year, so this season will be largely dependent on like how much money he gets on his next contract, whether it be with us or another team. But yeah, he's playing for a big contract. Also, Jeremy Parnell, he's getting a little bit older, but he is solid. He has a good work ethic. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with offensive line. We decided to keep 10 players, so We'll see how this develops, man. So next up, that kind of wraps up the offense. Shout out to, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to everybody in here. David Bryan's been in here a lot, so is Charlie. BB Smith, what's going on, man? Positive Flow Podcast Kingdom Mindset, that is a long name. What's good? Stewie's, Clint Taylor, Kenneth Cologne, Ontario, what's going on, man? AJ Harris, did Smoot make the team? Yes, he did. And that will transition us to the next position group, that is the defensive line. We kept 11 defensive linemen. Now, basically with Dante Fowler Jr., he's not going to count against the 53-man roster in week 1 because he's suspended. So one of these guys could potentially get cut, or it could be a guy from another position unit. Tavares Phillips, what's going on, man? What's up, Tremaine? The defensive line, so I'll go ahead and go through who made the team, who 11 on them. Oh, dang, McKinnon just tore his ACL. That's not good. That sucks, man. Sorry, I hate hearing about injury. And also, he's a big fantasy guy, and he's in the NFC, so it's not gonna, hurt the Jaguars too. He's not gonna hurt the Jaguars at all. But we'll go ahead and go into defensive line. Some of the stars that obviously made the team: Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson, Marcel Darius, Yannick Ngakoue. Some more guys: Dante Fowler Jr., Avery Jones, Taven Bryan, DeJuan Smoot, Michael Bennett, Lorente McCray, and Eli Ankou. So the only new guys that are on the roster this year on a defensive line than last year are Taven Bryan, our first-round pick out of University of Florida, and also Michael Bennett, who was on the roster, but he was on the injured reserve list. So some of the guys that we cut, Carroll Phillips, I believe he's eligible for the practice squad. And I know he's a player that the Jaguars do like, so he might stick around there. Hunter Dimick, he's a big old dude from the Mount. He's out west. I believe he went to Utah. Big old dude. He got the start when Taven Bryan and Calais Campbell and DeJuan Smoot were all injured, and he just doesn't show much. He's never made any big plays, so that was to be kind of expected. But yeah, I was kind of surprised when it comes to all this at DeJuan Smoot. I thought he was a guy that might be put on the IR just because he basically missed all of the preseason, and I figured he might have been a guy. He didn't go through the tough Tom Coughlin kind of preseason or training camp kind of thing. Doug Marrone, Tom Coughlin. So I figured they put him on the IR with a designation to return. He'll be healthy in there. Then at the end of the year, you have Taven Bryan to fill in that for that spot. You have some more guys in there. So yeah, I was kind of expecting him to maybe put on the IR, but he doesn't. So we'll see. We'll see how that progressive where he falls on the depth chart. But some more kind of the starting defensive line might be one of this unit might be the best unit in the NFL. The starting defensive line is very, very good, but also the depth is very good. Now, we have Calais Campbell, this big defensive end. Great leader for the team. He's the mayor of Saxonville. Man, he came in there and big time changed the culture of this defense kind of as a new addition to the team. You also have Malik Jackson. Malik Jackson's a very, very good player, man. Almost kind of underrated in a lot of senses. Didn't make the NFL top 100, but he was a Pro Bowl selection. Marcel Darius, he's a very good player. I mean, he doesn't make too many huge highlight plays, but guess what? When Marcel Darius goes in the game, it's like our run defense all of a sudden gets so much better. He's a huge player for our team. Obviously got in a little bit of trouble before the season started, this offseason when it comes to, I don't know, I think it was drugging a chick or something like that. But, that suspension, if anything comes out of it, will probably come next year, kind of like what happened with Dante Fowler Jr., how, his suspension basically happened last year, before last year started. But, the next kind of guy, Yannick Ngakoue, a lot of players are kind of predicting this guy to be defensive player of the year. I mean, he's an absolute stud. Yannick Ngakoue, so exciting, strip sack king. He is so much potential, man. He got snubbed from the All-Pro list. He obviously didn't get. He was an alternate to get into the Pro Bowl, but I think a lot of it is just he was a third-round pick, so he wasn't very known for that. He has a really confusing last name. It's super African, so it's hard to pronounce. And yeah, I mean he's a beast. Really excited to see kind of how he does. But some of the backups, Dante Fowler Jr. I know all offseason people were trying to trade him, but I don't think teams were really offering him that much. I think they're only trying to trade us a 7th and 6th round pick. And with a guy, he's on a contract year. That's why a lot of people want to trade him away, just because everybody was we need this guy kind of off the team. But at the same time, man, Fowler, he's a good player, man. I mean, he got 8 sacks last season in a third down role as a backup, not even playing a lot of the time. And he gets overshadowed by guys like Yannick Ngakoue, by guys like Calais Campbell, by stud defensive linemen like Malik Jackson and stuff like that. I mean, he helps get pressure on a pass rusher. I mean, he has insane bull rush, very, very quick, very, very powerful. Now he does get He's undisciplined when it comes to getting a lot of hands to the face, penalties, not to mention how he is off the field, but too valuable to cut. He's most likely going to get a big contract for somebody else, just because it's so hard to find good defensive ends, and it's easier said than done when it comes to replacing a guy who had 8 sacks last season. Had, I believe, 2 or 3 sacks in the postseason, at least 2 sacks against the Patriots, and those guys are just hard to find, and you got to think, man, if Yannick Ngakoue has never been injured on the Jaguars. So if Yannick Ngakoue were to have been injured and we trade away Dante Fowler Jr., you know what our third down rushing package looks like at the end? We got Lorente McCray, and we have Dewan Smoot or like Taven Bryan. It wouldn't look good from it's not as good. It's not as good as a set. You need speed players in there. So yeah. Dante Fowler Jr., he's suspended week 1, as we all know, but he tore his ACL. Fowler tore his ACL his rookie year, but since then he hasn't missed a game. This Giants game will be the first game that he ever misses. So, hopefully he's in shape and everything, and he's good to go. Another backup, Avery Jones. Now, Avery Jones, we paid him a big contract last offseason. He hasn't really performed up to expectations since then, which is a big reason why we brought in Marcel Darius. It's kind of clear the upgrade between Marcel Darius and Avery Jones, but Avery Jones is still a very nice player. He's good for depth. He is a very expensive player. We did give him a big contract, so and Haynes McCray is a defensive end. He's been more of a hybrid his kind of career. He only played linebacker snaps, strong side snaps at during the Cardinals game. But other than that, he plays a lot of defensive end, and especially with with Dante Fowler being out week 1, we need him to fill into that Dante Fowler's role. He's a pretty nice player. We'll get into him a little bit later, but Taven Bryan, first round pick at the University of Florida, threw a lot of people off with this pick, but he's been playing reps at both strong side defensive end, and he's been over there at defensive tackle, which I don't really like. I'd rather get him to master one position, but the Jaguars obviously know more than me, but hopefully he gets up to speed. He's missed a lot of reps due to him being injured a lot, and we'll kind of see what kind of role he has this season. We don't necessarily need him to perform big time this season, but down the road, man, he's going to be replacing guys potentially Malik Jackson or Avery Jones. Maybe even Calais Campbell if they see him more as a defensive end, but we'll see with Taven Bryan. Calais Campbell said he's the best rookie he's ever been around, so we'll see there. Dewan Smoot made the team. Obviously, I talked about him earlier. He was a 3rd round pick from 2017, a high 3rd round pick. So, he needs to step up a little bit this season. He's been injured a lot during the preseason, which a lot of people thought maybe he'd get cut, but he was a very, very high investment. He is a guy that we do need to hit. He's kind of a tweener when it comes to defensive end and defensive tackle. So we'll kind of see how Dewan Smoot progresses. Hope to see good stuff out of him. Michael Bennett made the team. He was a pick he was like a 5th or 6th round pick in a 2015 draft. So he's been on the team quite a bit. He's been injured a lot. So And someone said Yannick has never been hurt. Guys, I don't believe in superstitions. I don't think anything I say in this live stream is going to affect anything that the Jaguars do on the field. But that's just my opinion. If you want to knock on wood, go ahead and do it. But yeah, Clint Taylor, he's been playing Lorente McCray plays most of his reps at defensive end, but he has filled in for strong side linebacker in certain cases. But I think the main reason why he's looked at as a linebacker is because on the Broncos, he was a linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, which is basically a defensive end. He was a linebacker at Buffalo in a 3-4 scheme, and now he's more of a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme. So yeah. Next up, we got Lorente McCray. Obviously, I've talked a lot about him. He's a pretty good speed guy. He can play. He mostly plays defensive end. He's going to have a big role definitely week 1. But he's mostly a special teams guy, big-time special teams guy. We'll see if he does get declared as captain of that unit. Eli Ankou, he got him through the Texans last season. So he's mostly a game day inactive. So that kind of wraps up the defensive line. Very, very strong unit, very good depth. Love that position unit. And yeah, so we got 68 people watching. Thanks everybody for watching. If you guys can, hit that like button. I guess it helps out these streams, or at least it helps out my confidence. I know that. It does the YouTube algorithm thing. So yeah, I always appreciate you guys. And also subscribe to the channel. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're already kind of subscribed. But yeah, that kind of goes for the defensive end unit. I want to quickly shout out everybody in here. Hames has been in here for a while. David Bryan, always in these streams, so I appreciate that. Clint Taylor from British Columbia, so way at the opposite side of North America from me. Random Letters says, let's go Jags. I like it. Stewies, I just haven't seen much from Smoot. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't shown much in the pass rush. He was good, pretty decent last year in run support. He showed a good motor, but he definitely has to get better. But as I said earlier, defensive end is a tough position to kind of play, when in the rookie year. So we'll see how he kind of progresses, Charlie says, which side receiver will have a breakout season? I think D.D. Westbrook's going to have one of the best seasons. So yeah, now we'll go to linebacker. We kept 5 dudes out here. Telvin Smith, Miles Jack, those guys are solidified as starters, especially in the nickel spot. Miles Jack, middle linebacker. Telvin Smith, weak side linebacker. We all know about those guys. Leon Jacobs made the team. Now Leon Jacobs is a 7th round pick out of Wisconsin. So we'll get to him in a minute, but he's going to be the starting strong side linebacker. Some of the backups that we have, Donald Payne, he's the backup middle linebacker. He was actually undrafted out of Stetson a few seasons ago. I live about 35-40 miles away from Stetson. I didn't even know they had a football team. So he was undrafted, very, very small football program. So I think he's the only guy to ever go to the NFL out of that school. He spent some time at the Ravens, but yeah, he's the backup middle linebacker. We also kept Blair Brown, who was a 5th round pick in a 2017 NFL draft. And now I want to kind of discuss this strong side linebacker position. So, with Blair Brown being we all kind of assumed Blair Brown was going to be that strong side linebacker just because we didn't really get anybody in free agency, so we just calmly thought, hey, they feel comfortable with maybe sliding in, Blair Brown, especially after the draft and free agency went by, where the only guy we really got was a 7th round, rookie as a linebacker. So we thought, Blair Brown, they like what they have out of him. He's going to be that strong side linebacker, but right off the bat, this guy goes to weak side linebacker. And we didn't see much from Blair Brown last season, but he was a backup. He did play that strong side linebacker, a little bit last season when Telvin Smith got injured. So, we were kind of sitting there he's going to be solidified into that role. The coaching staff sees a lot more of him than we do. But instead, we have a 7th round pick, Leon Jacobs, basically in there at that strong side linebacker spot starting. So, I'm sitting here thinking, did the Jaguars really go all free agency without thinking that they have a strong side linebacker? They went 6 rounds of the NFL draft not having a strong side linebacker. Then they got a 7th round rookie that they thought was going to start there. I think it's almost a little bit irresponsible, almost to kind of do that. They went a long time out there and, kind of went without one. So, strong side linebacker is probably the least important position on the team. They don't usually get reps. They don't get they only play about 30% of the time. So that's kind of how that position. But it's still interesting to me. But he has shown good things since being in there. He's gradually gotten better every game. So we'll see what happens out of Leon Jacobs. He's a big old dude. He's also very fast. So we'll see how he does. But yeah, some of the guys that we cut were Deion King, Hungala. He might go to the IR, like this Hawaiian dude, Matolololola, or something like that. So yeah, it's interesting that we don't keep 6. We don't really technically have a backup strong side linebacker. However, Lorente McCray has played that position. He did play that position a little bit in the Arizona game after Telvin Smith got injured. So yeah, we'll see with that. So now we'll kind of move on to the next position. We'll answer some questions real quick. Tanner Lee did not make the team. He's most likely going to be on the practice squad. in my opinion, and that's not surprised. We only usually keep 2 people. If someone does decide they want to pick up, Tanner Lee and put them on their 53 roster, then I guess go right ahead. David Bryan, Blair Brown should have been middle linebacker. He's got weak side linebacker speed, so I'm okay with that. JagFan85, I wonder if we put Lee on a practice squad. Clint Taylor, UCF, you got to do another live video blog the next game you go to. That was my all-time favorite video. Yeah, I'll see it. If I'm going to week 1 at the New York Giants at MetLife, so if they have good Wi-Fi and they're able to connect, a lot of times if you're just kind of working off wireless internet, it doesn't turn out to be very good. Just because, there's so many people in that congested area and a lot of people are just crowding up the signal. But if I'm able to do something like that, I definitely will do it. So now we will move on to the next position, and I believe, let me see something. Yeah, we're going on to the next position. We got the cornerback position. We kept 5 cornerbacks. Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, both starting outside cornerbacks. We also have DJ Hayden in there starting at the slot. You also have backups like Tyler Patton make the team. Love Tyler Patton. It's his second year on the team. We kept Trey Herndon. Some of the guys, I'll go into him in a minute. We cut Jalen Myrick, who was on the team all of last season. He was a 7th round draft pick. He was the fastest defensive back in the combine. So we decided to cut ties with Jalen Myrick. I don't know, he might be eligible for practice squad, but we'll see. But the Jaguars probably know what they have out of this guy after, he's been on the team for 2 training camps, 2 preseasons, and 1 full season. So we also cut Quentin Meeks. Quentin Meeks is definitely a practice squad guy. He might be picked up from another team. We'll see if he does get on the practice squad, and that is awesome. But we also cut like Revis, I think his name, something like that. But yeah, but we'll go ahead and go into Herndon now. Trey Herndon made the team. He was undrafted. I forget what school he went to. I think it was like South Carolina or Maryland. If anybody knows what school Herndon went to, please let me know in the comments, and I'll let everybody know on demand what happened there. But we also, like Herndon, I mean, he's a good size kind of guy. He's kind of the opposite of Jalen Myrick. He's a big dude. He's lengthy. Oh dang, we got a $20 donation. This is from the Jaguars commissioner. This is our year, our Super Bowl, but our defense cannot get hurt. We have the best talents right now. 12-4, Duval for life. Ramsey is our god. Huge shout out to Tyler, to the Jaguars commissioner. I believe that's Rock Stonick. He has a YouTube channel also, so definitely check him out. But huge shout out to the Jaguars commissioner for this awesome $20 donation. And man, I think 12-4 would be awesome. 12-4. Super Bowl, man, all that, I'll take all that right now. Like, sign me up for that. But yeah, man, go Jaguars. Shout out to you, man, for the donation. It really helps out the channel. Really, that made me happy, man. Appreciate you. But yeah, going back to Trey Herndon. Herndon, Vanderbilt. He's an SEC guy. Thank you, Clint Taylor, for letting me know. He was out of Vanderbilt, so he's an SEC guy. He shows a lot of size. He's not necessarily the speediest guy, but he was very, very flashy this preseason. So, excited Herndon made the team, kind of a project guy. We'll see with him. We'll go ahead and also Patman. Love me some Patman. I was trying to almost start on my own competition between DJ Hayden and Tyler Patman, just because I thought Tyler Patman was having a really, really good, preseason. But yeah, Patman, this is his second year on the team. He spent some time with the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah. Some of our starters, Jalen Ramsey, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. First team All-Pro. He was a Pro Bowl selection. He was, I believe, like in a top 20 of the NFL Network's top 100, number 9 in ESPN's top 100. Just a tremendous player. He makes a lot of headlines lately just for talking shit about other, players and stuff like that around the league. I know a lot of people are getting worked up over it. I don't mind too much that he's really doing all this, just because, he's not like Kelvin Benjamin, where he's going to talk all this shit about, say, like Cam Newton through the media and stuff like that, but is too afraid to say it to his face. No, Jalen Ramsey will say the same exact stuff he's putting out to the media. He will say that same exact stuff to the player's face on the field. And, this is just getting us out there a little bit. I mean, I remember when Richard Sherman was saying all this stuff over in, Seattle, it was making headlines. It was basically the top stories on ESPN, and Jalen Ramsey's getting us on ESPN. This team is now the bully. This team is not pushovers. So, yeah, I'm excited about that, man. Love me some Jalen Ramsey. He could turn out to be the best player to ever wear a Jaguars uniform. Love Jalen Ramsey. AJ Bouye, also a tremendous player. AJ Bouye is more of a technician. He was a former undrafted guy out of UCF, so he had to really work from the ground up to be where he is right now when it comes to an all-pro cornerback, second-team all-pro, also in the top 100 as well. He's a Pro Bowl kind of player. But yeah, Bouye, we got him from the Houston Texans, man. Love Bouye, huge technician. He basically runs routes for, these guys, really trailing him. So that's really good. Love me some like AJ Bouye. Also, DJ Hayden. Now, DJ Hayden is in there to replace Aaron Colvin, who went over to Houston. Aaron Colvin leaving the team didn't really come as much of a surprise, just because, he almost kind of wanted to stay in, Jacksonville in a way. He probably wanted to finish the mission, but when it comes to his own career, Houston was the move to make. As long as he was on the Jaguars, he will always be in Jalen Ramsey and AJ Bouye's shadow. You know what I mean? Like, the nickel cornerback isn't getting much recognition. He has a chance to go over to the Houston Texans and really prove something for himself. So yeah, really good stuff. So that's what's kind of like going on there now. Now with DJ Hayden, like we'll kind of see what Aaron Colvin does out there, but we wound up getting AJ Bouye last season too, because we didn't think Aaron Colvin was an outside guy. So I only hope the best. For Aaron Colvin out there in Houston, just not against the Jaguars. Next up, we have DJ Hayden. DJ Hayden is in there to replace Aaron Colvin. DJ Hayden, he was a former first-round pick from the Oakland Raiders. He also, played a year for the Detroit Lions. He got a pretty decent 3-year deal to be the starter, but we'll see how DJ Hayden plays. He played pretty well in the preseason, so. One thing about Aaron Colvin was not only was he good in pass protection, he was also good in run stopping. So Hayden, he did get a couple of, they like to blitz the nickel cornerbacks, and he did get a sack. I know at least one sack. So yeah, pretty good secondary or pretty good cornerback group. I do feel really good about this cornerback group. So next we'll move on to the safety position. Now, we kept 5 safeties on the team, which, this is exactly what I predicted. Barry Church to Sean Gibson to start out there. We also kept Ronnie Harrison, which was a no-brainer, 3rd-round pick, rookie out of Alabama. We also kept Cody Davis and, Jared Wilson. There were no surprise cuts for this position. It was more of a question of, well, are they going to keep 4 safeties or are they going to keep 5 safeties? And I expected Cody Davis to stay. They gave him a lot of money, not a lot of money, but they gave him a decent amount of guaranteed money. David Caldwell thinks really highly of this guy. He said in a press conference that he thought he was one of the best special teams players in the NFL. So obviously high praise for a guy. Jared Wilson, Jaguars love him too. He's very good in special teams. He's also good in a backup role. Barry Church and Deshaun Gibson. I think a lot of fans give these guys a lot of crap. I think they're better than the fans really think they are, just because, when you look at a position on a unit, you always try to find the worst kind of player to kind of rag on. And, the safety position is a really, easy position to kind of see if they're doing bad, just because, Deshaun Gibson, he can let, maybe 3 or 4 throws go over the top, and, it's so obvious that his responsibility, and it just looks crucial. But, when a running back goes up the middle of the field and goes on a 25-yard run or something like that, it's hard to yell at the middle linebacker being like, oh, this middle linebacker was supposed to have that run fit, that run gap. That was his run gap, so that's his responsibility, It's, a lot like a left tackle or something like that, where they let a thing go loose. You only really recognize them when they do bad. So Yeah, I think both these guys are good players. I think it's going to be Church's last year on the team just because we drafted Ronnie Harrison. And, the big point in the draft is you want to be able to draft these cheap guys to eventually replace the more expensive players later on. So yeah, I think Harrison's going to fill into that role, into Church's role eventually. Harrison had a really good, preseason for the Jaguars, and he's a very good player out of Alabama, and these Alabama players do pretty well in the NFL, man. That's the as much as I hate to say it, it's definitely the best college football school in the nation. I mean, they have built themselves a powerhouse dynasty down there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So yeah, we keep 5 safeties with Barry Church at strong sideline or strong safety, Tashawn Gibson as free safety, Ronnie Harrison probably backing up both those guys. I mean, he played both those slots. He even played for free safety when Tashawn Gibson was injured. Cody Davis more for special teams, and Jared Wilson also a special teams guy, but maybe they will designate maybe like Harrison to back up strong side linebacker and Jared Wilson to back up free safety, but yeah, we'll see. Now, huge shout out to everybody in the live chat. Looks like people talking shit about, I don't know, we got Sports Reactions in here, who he's a big Texans fan, but Clint Taylor, what's good? Some of the familiar faces. Gator Chop, what's going on, man? Jag Fan 85. We got Charlie. Huge shout out to all you guys. We got 55 peeps up here watching. But yeah, the last position group out here, the specialist. No surprise to the specialist, Josh Lambo. He's a good kicker. Now, he did miss, I think, 2 field goals in the preseason, but both those were exceeding 45 yards, I believe. We got punter Logan Cook. We drafted him in the 7th round of this draft out of Arkansas, I believe. And once we drafted him, Brad Norton was cut like a week later. So, Logan Cook, I could see potentially maybe even doing kickoffs because he has a stronger leg than Josh Lambo. He did some kickoffs last game. So, also long snapper Carson Tinker out of Alabama. Him and Avery Jones are actually tied for the longest tenure Jaguars on the team. Both coming in as undrafted free agents. I believe in 2012 was when they came in. So yeah, like Carson Tinker, he missed last season due to an ACL tear. And yeah, so that kind of goes us off for that. And this live stream, man, I was live for like 57 minutes. Huge shout out to like everybody in the live chat for coming in here. I had 54 total people in here. Be sure to like it if you guys enjoyed it. Really means a lot to me. I'm going to be coming out with a running back preview video, or not a preview, but like a film room kind of video very, very soon. So I'm really excited about that. I got a couple fantasy. I don't know if I'm going to be live streaming for any of them, but I got a couple fantasy drafts coming up. We're in fantasy draft season, so that's pretty damn awesome. So pumped about that. We are 8 days away from the Jaguars season opener against the Giants. Man, the season's here, guys. Like, September marks the best 4-month stretch of the year. We got football every weekend. I mean, we have football starting, this weekend with college football. About to watch the Gators over here in about an hour. FSU plays Monday night. Obviously, UCF played last Thursday and kind of whooped some UConn ass. But, that was pretty fun. But yeah, man. Thanks everybody for kind of joining the stream. Gonna have a bunch of videos coming up here, and NFL season is here. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and I'll catch you guys next time.